Malana mai ka ume puna me hilo hele mai kona me kohala me hamakua he ka ele o waipio e pola o mahiki he uka o wai mea he awa ka wai hai he kupe no ka waa o poli ahu he pala mauna a wakea i luna Paakua hiri i ke ali i ta waa Ohia i ta nana tue Malana Malana mai ka ume puna me hilo Hele mai kona me kohala me Hamakua he ta ele o waipio e kola o mahiki E uka o ai mea e awa ka wai hai He upe no ka waa o poli ahu He pala mauna awa ke a i luna Paakua hiri i ke alili ta waa O hia i ta hanana tue Ie Aloha mai kākou, mauna a wākea, mauna kea. O ta mauna tu akua. O ta mauna tu tupuna. O ta mauna tu tumu. O ta mauna ku alakai. O ta mauna ta mea nui. O ta mauna I mālama ia. Mauna a wakea are the words that I begin with here, because the mountain is as my akua. The mountain is my grandparent. The mountain is my parent, my teacher, my guide, my treasure. And I have no doubt that the mountain brought me here. I had just made my peace last year with the fact that I would probably never come here. And I had said that out loud. I think I will never go to Aotearoa. And I make my peace with that. And I'll explain that a little later, but I said that. I think not 2 days later, I got the email from Leonie. Would you believe that? Can we just say yes? You know, how does that happen? How does anything that has happened since 2010 with the Mauna, because of the Mauna, for the Mauna, representing the Mauna in the wake of the Mauna, happen? We have called upon in our chant, our districts to enter the room. Malana mai ka'u, me puna me hilo, hele mai kona me kohala, me hamakua. I can't do anything by myself. I need all of my districts here and all of you from Ko Hawaii Pai Aina that are here. You are my pillars today. And I'm in deep honor to fill this room with our voice and our prayer. With those of my comrades who I have known over many years. I've been an educator with many of you. I have chanted and sung and danced with a number of you. I have stood on the mountain with some of you. I have been in the courtroom with a few of you, and I love all of you. So mahalo e Hawaii. We have been treated with honor and respect by the seen and the unseen here in these lands. Upon our arrival, we were taken to the stronghold because that's where my daughter and I needed to go for the times coming, to become stronger, to know the Mauna here and those who stood here on these lands, that we be strengthened by that when we go home. So what is my purpose here today? It's a little bit different, I think. My purpose here today is to honor the work, honor all of you in our transformation. And the only way that I can do that is with all that I have and all that I am. So I have dressed the way I would dress if I went to the Mauna on a formal ceremonial day, and so has my daughter. We have brought the Mauna to you today. We have brought you the water of Poliahu, and we have brought the Mauna here in the Pohaku. And we are the Mauna, and we are here to mahalo Ya'oko. If you think that we didn't know at the last conference that you stood for Mauna Kea, know that we knew that. And we saw that, and that's why I'm standing here today. So in honor of all of you, I've asked Malani, my dear friend, comrade, to, if you would accept it. I've brought the water of Lake Waiau here, the highest water in the world from the seafloor, because I wanted to gift you with that. And so I brought a little bit of it, and I asked Malani to go around and to just pikai us as we would on the Mauna, just a little sprinkling of the highest water in the world from the seafloor. Are you folks okay with that? Just to receive that. On the table, I have put little bags of salt, pakai, and if you don't have one, a table will pass you some. And what I'm going to ask you to do is open that and to just take one or two little grains of pa'akai from the island of Kauai. So if I have Kauai in the house, mahalo nui for the pa'akai that comes to us just when we need it the most. And why I brought the pa'akai is to remind all of us and to honor my dear, dear comrade here, because we are a voyaging people. And this reminds me that I come from a great people who traveled the sea, who were brilliant, who had ancestral wisdom and knowledge. And when I take a little bit of that pa'akai, as I do at Pu'uhuluhulu, on the base of the Mauna, it reminds me who I come from. And from there, I will speak in the best way that I can in the minutes that I have. So I'm going to keep an eye on the minutes ticking there, and I'm going to have to begin. And I'm only going to give you a glimpse of the Mauna. That's all I can give you today, and I'm going to hope that I can give you that glimpse in the best way that I can. So I'm going to start at where we are right now with the Mauna, and then I'm going to tell you how we got there. And in transforming myself and my family, I hope that I'm going to inspire you in some way. So I'm going to say, just receive what I have to say, either as a story, a myth, a truth, but I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just here to say that this is what is. So right now, at this very moment, I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm going to honor those who have always stood for the mountain. Since 1968, when they gave out that first little permit for a structure this big on the Mauna, those who stood against that, those who stood for the Mauna. Some of them are still standing with us today in the spirit world and in truth. I'm going to honor those who stood before me and those who will stand after me. Mauna Kea Ohana, Mauna Kea Hui, who closed the contested case without Havani and I because we were here in your mountains. Last week, Thursday, the second contested case was completed. Today, it is Law 714. Day 714 in this current movement. We have held this mountain. in every way that we can. My front line has been in the contested case hearing. Front line has been home at night creating questions for the next 4 witnesses the next day. Front line has been on the Mauna. And I wanted to bring the Mauna here for you, and as you can see, the mountain is here because Te Rawhitiroa, one of you, was on the mountain with us on June 24th, 2015. Eo, to him that these pictures are here, and you are on the Mauna. Today, you are on the Mauna. What's going to happen next for us? Contested case closed last Thursday. Our families, those Aloha Aina patriots at home, are probably right now coming up with their findings of fact. And they probably have about 3 weeks or so to do that. Once we turn that in, the judge will deliberate, the hearing officer, retired judge. Once she does that, which the first contested case, the hearing officer took a whole year. And we lost that case, but we won. Believe me, we won. When she renders her decision, we will probably take that to the Supreme Court. And in the meantime, between her decision and the Supreme Court, we may have to do this again. We may have to stand. And I believe that we need to. To tell you the truth, our people out here, Hawaii, I believe we have to, because the Mauna is the best training ground for us. And there are many times that we will need to stand in our lifetime. And why not be trained at the holiest, most sacred place on how to conduct ourselves, how to respect one another. Sacred mountain, sacred conduct. Could not have asked for a better place. So if we do have to stand again, it will be because we need to, because it is necessary in the times to come. And I rest assured that all of you will stand with us. So how do we get to a place? I have heard the other keynote speakers. I'm honored to stand on the same stage, speak about standing. How do we get to that place where we are brave enough? I say I crawled to courage. I crawled there. I am braver than my fear, but I wasn't always like that. So I'm going to share just a glimpse. Now, know that this is a glimpse, please. I'm not giving you a whole story. There's going to be plenty holes in it. I have to get from A to Z in 2 minutes, so please just stay with me and know I haven't given you a complete picture. How do you get there? And how did I get here? And Havani get here? Once upon a time, my younger daughter, I have to honor her here because she's in school at home. I think she was about 9 years old, and we were at a sacred place. We're at a rain rock that I've taken care of since I was about 18 years old. And my younger daughter said to me one day, "Mom, the lady of the lake is here, She come all the way down from the mountain to Waimea, where I'm from. And I couldn't see her. She said, Mom, the one that's in the lake on the top of the mountain, she's here, That's the first lesson for me. We got to believe our children. When they can see something, we cannot see something, and they're telling us something that they wouldn't even know. We best pay attention. It changed my life. Believing my child changed my life. Believing my daughter makes me stronger. And we were turning to leave, and she said, "Wait, Mom." And she said, "The lady is asking you something." And I said, "What is it?" This was like 2010. I was much weaker then. And she said, if you can try one more time, Mom. And I didn't even know what she meant. And I said, try what? I really didn't know. And she said, Mom, can you try to stop the telescope? She said. And I'm going to tell you right now, because a lot of you know me. I was teaching at Waimea School at that point. I'm a teacher. At that very second, my heart went to my toes, and I was filled with fear. You guys know what real fear feels like? Yeah, I know, because I've lived it. You know what I thought about at that time? I've come a far ways, but I'm going to share what I thought at that time. What about my job? Was the first thing. What about my job? What about my family? What are people going to think about me? And oh God, does that mean that I have to go to court? I don't even know anything about that. What if I stand alone? I'm not used to that. What if I have to stand alone? I thought about that scholarship money that I'm sure was going to come, you know what I mean? It was going to come swift, because that's what they do to us. They offer us that scholarship money so that the parents buy in, because that's what we do. We see a scholarship coming for our children, and we give up almost anything because we love our kids. And so I thought about all of that. And I'm going to stop on that part because I have to get to why I'm here now. But I was filled with fear, but my family never were. When I went home, I told my husband, Kalani Flores, aloha aina, patriot, warrior, works for the university. We're up against the university for the protection of our mountain. I said, oh, you guys got to go contested case hearing. Make sure we get in. My younger daughter went with him. And she said, Mo'oinanea went to. She was upset at the lawyers on the other side, she said, because they lied. I was like, okay, I know this is truth. We got in, and I'll tell you why I was filled with fear, because we asked for standing on behalf of the spirit world. Who does that? We said, Mo'oinanea needs standing in this case. That didn't happen. But we got standing. But it opened the door, because those of us, we all in this room, we speak about the spirit world in our families. But the spirit world said, no, this is the time when we must lead you. And we will guide you if you open the door. And we have opened the door. Now, how did I get from that state to standing here and probably being live streamed out there? So AO to everyone out there. I'm honoring all of you as well in this journey of crawling to courage. I'll tell you how it began for me. It began on Sacred Facebook. That's how it began. Yes, indeed. I just happened to get on Facebook at that point in my life. And I scrolled down one day, and you know what I saw? I saw Idle No More. That's what I saw. Yes, indeed. The Idle No More movement took me in and gave me my first step. So find a movement if you're afraid, and get over it, and get busy, you know? And I said, one day I'm going to meet those women. And Sylvia and I, we have stood with each other and for each other ever since. We have presented together. What a beautiful life. When she says, Pua, I'm going on the roadway by myself today, I say, no, you're not. I'm with you. When Colleen Sisk of the Winnemem Wintu says, I'm going to block that dam raise, I say, even if I'm not there, I'm with you. When LaDonna from Sacred Stone Camp says to me, Pua, you're my angel. You call me every time I need you. I say, you're mine too. That's how we get there. 2 terms in our language got me there. Kapu aloha. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. How you conduct yourself, how you stand, how you begin to trust dignity, courage, respect for one another. I'm a different person when I look at my own people, when I look at all of you. I am always on the mauna, sacred mountain, sacred conduct. Kukia I mauna, I'm sure you've heard that term. That term was made up in my living room by my daughter Havani. We said we are ready to stand as warriors. We are ready to stand on the summit, and we crawled there. And I'm looking at my time, and I'm going to invite my daughter, and I'm going to invite my Hanai up here with me because I got like 9 minutes left, and I have to cover something, and I'm sorry I'm giving you a glimpse, but we all understand that. And I really want to honor all of you. And I thought, how am I best going to do that in the few minutes I have? So I'm going to have to read something right now to you. It's a letter I wrote and sent out. To those of you from Standing Rock who've ever been there to stand, can you stand for a second so that I can see who you are? If you've been to Standing Rock, can you please stand? And I want to see you because I wrote this letter to the youth of Standing Rock. But the youth of Standing Rock includes Mauna Kea Ohana Kia'i. They include Ohlone. They include Apache Oak Flat. They include the Winnemem Wintu. They include many of the youth that have stood for many movements, too much for me to mention. I'm going to read this letter, if you don't mind, to the youth, because I think as I read it, it's going to mean everything to us. You can either stand in your presence with me, in your mind and your heart, and be the reader, or you can be the receiver if you need this. But this is what I wrote and sent to my cherished youth at Standing Rock. I've stood there twice with them, and many of you have stood much longer than I have, but this is what it says. And then I'm going to close with actually my daughter and Nako coming up here because music is going to be very important this year. Aloha to each of you, my dearest nephews and nieces in this great movement, this stance that you have made for your water, life ways, your people, your very existence at this time and for the time coming. I wish to thank you for allowing me to be there for you, to advise you, teach you, guide you, provide for you, comfort you, correct you, cry with you, and love you. More deeply, I thank you for sharing with me your struggles, your challenges, your heartache, your strength, your resilience, your courage, your celebration in these, the most difficult and yet the most beautiful of times. For these are the times you will all look back on when you are the elders of the next generations, and you will say, this is the time when I felt the most alive, when my purpose was clear, and I knew that I was still them, the elders who I was born from, whom I was meant to be, the you that your grandchild will speak of with pride when they say, my grandmother, my grandfather tried, prevailed, and were victorious. For me, this is the time when we must be strong and we must be brave. If you are asking me, the youth of Standing Rock, where do we go from here? May my words inspire you to go forward. Find your cherished elders, aunties and uncles, those who refuse to give up, and listen deeply and allow them to teach and to guide you. For because of them, you have felt the need, the desire, the urgency to do what it takes, to give all you have. And for many of you, there is no turning back. Please prepare, train, learn more, because self-discipline is everything. Deepen your connection with your traditions. Connect to others. Network through whatever means are available to you. And recognize all you have accomplished and what needs to be done for the next time and the time after that and all of the times through time, and never give up. This is what I promise you as you go forward. I will not abandon you. I will never judge you or your movement, and will hold you and support you as you work it out. I will be a presence for you on Mauna Kea Wear Wednesdays and hold signs for you as well as our mountain on Fridays. I will wear red every Friday for Red Fawn Friday until this wahine koa, this mana wahine, is free. I will speak of you whenever I can and constantly remind others on sacred Facebook of our connection. I will continue to be a strength and a connection for you, to inspire you to be the mountain, be the sacred fire burning, be the flowing river. I will donate financially when I can, as I have promised to help the young runners to purchase a van to keep running and spreading the message. And whenever I can and am able to, I will be there on your lands, as not to be an obstructor or protester, but as a water protector, a land defender, and a Kukia Imauna warrior. And what I know for us is my family and I will lift you and honor you with all that we have and all that we are. Because of you, we are proud and we have hope and we have tasted victory. So we pray harder, we chant louder, and we stand stronger. Let our weapon be our prayer. Let our weapon be our song. We stand as a mountain, flow like a river, and Kukia Imauna. Together we rise. Together we rise. This is a song my daughter wrote on the way up to the Mauna one day. I quit my job as a teacher. The day that she called me from the mountain, I was in the classroom, and she said, "Mom, I think I'm going to be arrested today." And I looked around, and I said, "I quit, so I'm not an instructor anymore. I'm more than that now. I'm beyond that now, because I have to be." My daughter reminds me every day, "Mom, don't you leave that for me to clean up. This is on your watch." My younger daughter says, "Mom, stand strong even if you stand alone." But you know what? We're not alone. And that is the beauty of this. We will never be alone. There will never be a last Aloha Aina patriot. And we will make sure of that. We will stand strong. And we will rise. And we will all say, "Kukia Imauna. Kukia Imauna. Kukia Imauna. Eku, eku, eku. And we will stand.
Ka ima kani kama kani okalani kama kani ula kama kani honu ho oh hey hey ho oh hey hey aka kapu ke aka ku ano ke aka ku kahe Kukia I mauna ku nue E kukupa ue ku hoho e ku ike ku e ku kaulania ku
And why do we stand? Because our mauna is still sacred. Our mauna is still sacred. Together we rise. Together we rise. And I am just out of time. Right at the best moment ever. And you know what? I'm glad you're standing. Kukia I mauna! Kukia I mauna! Kukia I mauna!
Kukia I mauna
Kukia I mauna!
Kukia I mauna
Eo! Eo! Eo!
Eo
Paikalima! 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 And I'm going to ask you to remain standing. Because I was going to ask you to stand. You see how the akua works. Because I told Hoturoa, I'm not going to take any of your time, but my screen went blank. So I'm going to count this as his time. But this is Hokule'a's 42nd birthday. And Hoturoa and I are dear to one another. And I cannot leave this stage without greeting him as I greet him wherever we are, wherever our waka happen to meet. I am of the Makali'i Ohana, as many of you are out there. We are all Hokulea. We are all Makali'i. And I would like to bring him on in the way that we know how. So I'm going to honor Hokulea in my heart and my mind. 42 years and they're traveling around the world right now. Malama honua, eo. But I'm going to greet him from our canoe, from Mokuoke'ave, Makali'i. So the words are up there for you. And I'm going to do it one time call and one time sing, because that's what we have time for. But we cannot miss that, because this is what it's all about. Because my captain would have demanded and expected that, Clayton Bertelman, yes he would. Mau Pialug, who spent much time with my ohana, he would say, Pua, you didn't sing the song. Make strong, be good, make brave for the journey, so here we go. Aue, wahiti e, o matari e.
Aue, wahiti e.
Ele ka vai ke kai e, hokele wala ino e a o he pulwa anui e.
Aue, wahiti e.
Ela hoi mai tawa a ike ka.
Ika hoi,
Ita hoi.
ike ka.
E pai atu ita aina la.
E pai mai raita aina e. Aue, wahiti e.
Aue.
Wahiti e, wahiti e, o matari e. Aue, wahiti e. Ele e kawa ai ke kai e, o ke lewa ala ino e. A o he puluwa anui e. Aue, wahiti e. E lau hoi mai tawa a ike ka. Ika hoe, ike ka. E pai atu i ta ainara. E pai mai ra i ta aina e. Aue,
Awaitie with all the soul we can muster in our hearts. Let's do that
Me pewhia rā te kōrero i te ahua o ngā kupu kua tukuna nei e taku tuahine. Hoi anō, ka whakarongo nei tātou ki aia, ka rongo i ngā wairua o tātou mātua tūpuna e hikoe hairana i te ruma nei, ki e rā whenua tapu ko kōrero hia nei ia ki runga i o tātou maunga, whakawhiti i ngā moana, ko rātou katoa mai. Whakarongo au ki ana kupu i te timatanga, i te kāingi e noho ana i whakaurana, e kore pēr ia e tai ake ki tēnei whenua. Ko tahi noiho taku whakautu i tērā. Pērā anō ki taku whakautu ki e tehi o aku rangatahi ka whakawhiti moana i taku taha. Waiho tia mā o tātou tūpuna. Waiho tia mā rātou te huarai hei whakatagoto ki mui o tātou aroaro. Waiho tia mā rātou e tuku i ngā tohu nui o tō tātou ao, hei whakatagoto i te huarahi tika mā tātou. Hoi anō mihi ana ki aia ki tāna whānau, kia koutou katoa e kaha tuku nei o koutou tinana, o koutou whakaro, o koutou kaha. Kia kite anō tia, ngā wairua, ngā mana me ngā ihi ao tātou tūpuna ki runga i te mata o te whenua. E mihi nei, e mihi nei, e mihi nei. Mihana kia tātou katoa i tēnei āhuatanga o tō tātou hui. He manawa waka tāku e kōro hia nei. He manawa tangata ko koutou e kōro ake nei roto i e nei rangi. He manawa moana, he manawa whenua. Ko rongo katoa nei tātou i e rā āhuatanga o ngā kōrero e puta mai ana i e nei rang. Kei te whakarongo au ki a tātou kōrero e puta mai ana me pēnei te kōrero, me pēnei te tiaki, tēnei kaupapa i tērā kaupapa me tūkaha ki te mai, tētei mai. Hoi anō. Kei tēnā pito, kei tēnā pito, kei tēnā pito o te whare nei. Ngā mana, ngā ihi, ngā wehi, hei whakatutuki e nei āhuatanga katoa, puta no atu. Ki e nei e kōrohi ana e pua ki a tātou rangatahi, ki te hunga tai ohi. E titiro nei, whakarongo nei, e whai nei, i ngā tauira, e whakatagotoria nei e tātou. Hoi anō i runga i e rā āhuatanga, e rā whakaro. I roa au e tau kume ana i te kāinga ki a hau anō, me pēwhea te whakahua i ngā kōro o te rāna. Nā, a whakarongo au i te kōrero ina nahi. Me e tehi o ngā whakaro mō tō tātou reo, e kia nei. Me e hihana koe kia hopu pai te hunga whakarongo ki o kōrero, whakatagotoria ki te tehi reo ka marama katoa rātou. Ka hoki aku mahara ki te o ngā hui i tūau ki te wero atu ki e tehi o aku whanaunga. I tūau ki te marae, ka tahi au ka wepu haere a rātou. Ka tahi e tehi o ngā rangatahi tū mai a muri ake, haramai rātou ki te kōro kia hau ka ki. E hoa matua, pai ake tō kōro i te reo pāke no te mea ki tō mātou whakaro, kore rawa e rā o ngā kaumātua tino marama ki o kōrero, i a koe whakatakoto ana i runga i te marae. Nā, kei te pērā pēr te āhua i te rānei kia huri hake e tehi wahanga o ngā kōro i te rānei, kia marama katoa, o tātou ho, o tātou whanaunga, o te ao whānui. ki e tehi o a mātou, a tātou mahi, e tehi o ngā whakaaro kei roto nei te hinengaro, e tehi o ngā whakaaro kei roto nei i te wairu. Koe anō, e mihi ana ki a tātou, mihi ana ki a koe pare. Ko koe tērā, ahakoa te maha o ngā tohu kairangi kei roto i tēnei whare. Ka hoki anō ngā whakaaro ko koe tērā i whakatuwhera kaha i tēnei kuaha. Ki te hunga kairangi e noho mai nei. E mihi ana, e mihi ana, e mihi ana. Mihi ana ki e rā kupu whakanui tō tātou king. E whakanui ana i te mana motu hake. Mihi ana ki o tātou tini aitua o tātou tini mate. Hoi anō, ke huri ake nei ki e tehi atu o a tātou kōro mo te rānei. Well, I'm hoping you guys all got a good translation of that and it didn't deviate a little bit. But what can we say after hearing the journeys and the struggles, not just of our sister Pua, but of all of us in this world? And I guess a lot of people will look, and those of you who know what I get up to, so just kind of look at me and go, that's that waka guy, he just does this waka stuff and, you know, all those kinds of things. And one of the things I think is kind of significant today when Pua announced it, and I was talking earlier with a few others talking about today is the birthday of Hokulea. And I have to say that when I was about 14 or 15 years old, Te Atau Rangi Kahu had a film reel of the launching of Hokulea. And my parents were at a hui in Mahinarangi. And so I guess to keep me occupied, she gave me this reel and an old projector and said, here, take this out into Tūrongo and play this in the other room while my parents were having a meeting with her. And so I played this film, and it was this film of this Hawaiian canoe that was being launched. And I sat there and I said, one day I'm going to sail on that canoe. And it totally changed my worldview. And it totally challenged a lot of the stuff that I guess I'd grown up with. And so I'm going to show you a few images today that sort of will take us on that journey. Because I think one of the big things that I've come to know and learn in doing the kinds of things that I do, that people think, well, over the years, it's not so much now, but over the years, people have always mistaken the kinds of things that we do on the waka as just some kind of jolly pastime. That it's a kind of thing that you do to get out of doing other stuff. But, you know, and this isn't just because of, this isn't something that just comes from people who aren't Māori or who aren't Polynesian, but even from some of my own people, where the value of the kinds of things we do is not fully realised. And so these are some of the challenges that, you know, I'm asking you to all think about, because it's the ability to be able to transform our thinking. It's probably been framed and conditioned by the way we've been taught, is that we have to remove the kinds of things that talk about the journeys of our ancestors across the ocean. We have to remove them from a world of myth and legend and become a reality for us. It's not just fantasy. And once we get to that space, then all the knowledge and the traditions of our ancestors will become real. And we don't have to stand up and justify it to a bunch of scientists or ethnographers and all those kind of things, because it's what we do. It's what we do. When we leave ashore, we don't have people standing on a shore going, oh my God, I'm not going to ever see these people again. But they'll be standing there going, yes, we do this because this is who we are. We do this because our ancestors did this 1,000 years ago, and between then and now, people told us we couldn't do it. But now we can, and we do that because we can, and because we can show other people the kinds of things that we can do. So, this is a picture. Actually, we were sailing down on the east coast, and I took a picture of Hikurangi. And our waka actually is parked over there. I had to leave it in Anoda and come over for this conference, because our waka's parked over there right now. And we were sailing past Hikurangi, and I took this picture and I put it on Facebook. And Linda got in touch with me and said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Look, we're just sailing past your mountain." And she said, "Can I have a copy of that?" I said, "For sure." Because, and I've put on here, he whakapapa. Because in our stories, and those of you who know about our ancestor Maui, that's where his waka is. That's where his waka is. And that's the kind of place when that allows me to say to people when they go, "Do you believe that stuff about Maui fishing land up out of the ocean? Do you believe that stuff of him slowing the sun down?" I say, absolutely. Absolutely. Why? Because he's my ancestor. He's not some memory from the past. He is my ancestor. And the things he did then are the things we do today. And so this is a shot as we went. I thought it would be a great thing to have, because the moon was just setting on Hikurangi and the sun was rising on the other side. And as we cruised along, I said, this is pretty awesome. And it's even to see these kinds of things, the only way you're going to see it is on a waka. The only way you're going to see the names of the reasons why our tupuna name places all around the coast is if you go on a waka. There's so many times I've taken kaumātua out sailing with me and they say, "Wow, that name of that place makes sense now." And so a waka becomes a tool of recovering all that kind of kōrero, all that kind of knowledge, all those kinds of things. And it returns us to all those great stories of our history. Not myth and legend, but kōrero. And so this is the kind of myths we get used to. Starving Māoris arriving in Aotearoa. And this picture is hanging up in the Auckland Art Gallery. And I've sat there in secret sometimes listening to what the guides have to say about it. And often you'll be sitting there and you'll hear people saying, "Oh, the journey was so hard," and you can see how they were all running out of food and they were dying and all that. And you know what this does? It creates an image and a belief in the rest of society that this kind of stuff is fraught with danger and it's totally disorganised. But it's not like that. It's not like that at all. So I'm just going to show you a real image of what happens when you turn up at a place. Like that. Right? So this was in 2015. That's when I took that other photo too. We were actually sailing around the Motu when everything was happening up on Mauna Kea. We actually took a picture of, as we were sailing, took a picture, held the flag up as we were sailing up the east coast and sent it up to our family. And then we sailed up to Rarotonga. This was us sailing in to the bay in Rarotonga. And that voyage took us about 16 days. Even in your wildest dreams, you can never get that skinny in 16 days. It's the kind of stuff that we have to really get into everyone's mind. So that was us. We sailed up with our family from the Cook Islands and their waka Marumaru Atua. And I guess it's a dose of reality for a lot of people that we do this often now. That we sail to all these places. We sail to San Francisco. We sail to the Galapagos Islands. We sail to the Solomons. We sail to Australia. And each time we do something like that, your passport being stamped isn't necessarily the right way to get into that place. It's always that talk and meeting with the people who own that land that allows us in. So in terms of a whakapapa and images that we have, often when I've talked to a lot of my kaumātua over the years, and I've disappeared for months at a time, and I come back and they say, oh boy, where have you been? And I say, well, we've just sailed a waka to Tahiti, or we've just sailed a waka to Samoa or Tonga or something like that. And the first reaction always is, geez, you must be tired, you must have paddled for so long. and part of this is all around these kinds of images. These kinds of images where for, over a century, the only wakas we had in our inventory were these types of waka, war canoes. And so I put these particular pictures in there for a reason. The first one is Te Winika, which sits now in the black and white photo, is Te Winika that sits in the Hamilton Museum now. And the kaihautu on board, you can just see him standing there, Here Kotuku Muru. He's 80 years old now. Yeah, he just celebrated his birthday the other day. But he and other guys were the kaumātua who encouraged me to just get on and do this kind of stuff and to change everybody's thinking. And then the next two pictures are the same waka, but 30 years apart on the Waikato River. The lower one is my son, who's the boss on that canoe now. And a couple of years ago, those who know Uncle Buffalo, he turned up here, and he was a special guest of the king, sitting on his dais on the side of the Waikato River, Turanga Waiwai Marae. And my son was on the canoe, brought it down. They do these great ceremonial paddles on the river in honour of the king's guests. And I was just driving the boat beside them, and I drove up beside my son and said, look, I'm going to pick this guy up. So I drove up to the stage. I called out to Uncle Buff and said, hey, you want to come for a ride? Picked him up and took him on. And then he rode on that canoe with my son. And it was a great day. It was a great day because he was one of the first crew on Hokulea. And I haven't seen him that emotional at all until he got on this waka. Had his experience on there, and when he got off, he was very, very emotional. But these are the kind of images that we have when people say, oh, we went on a waka to Rarotonga. This is what happens. They think of this. And it's a really hard headspace for people to get out of. Remember, I'm talking about our own people here. I'm talking about our own people who think this. So it's a very, very difficult thing for us to be able to do. I remember one time when I was working at the university and we had a graduation procession, and I'm walking through with all the rest of my colleagues, and then somebody yells out from the side, oh, do you think you can get a degree in doing waka stuff? And they're laughing and carrying on, and it's quite, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed for that person for their ignorance, but I was embarrassed for myself because I'm standing there and trying to push this kind of kaupapa around, and we still have people who think that way. There's actually nothing worthwhile doing. So, these are pictures that are dear to me because we really started pushing things with a lot of our rangatahi in the early part of this century. So we were fortunate when we went up and we hung out up in Kauai High, and we started doing programs with Makale, and Hokulea happened to be there. So we had two canoes, and we were just sailing around with all these 13 and 14-year-olds from Aotearoa up there. It was a really great time, and really built on what I had done with Hokulea in the 1980s. And then, of course, Te Aurere, which was the next waka that we spent quite a lot of time on, that Heke Nukumai Busby built, which are really our platforms for doing stuff with all our young people. And then these are our wakas that we utilise today. I've got a small waka, Pūmai Te Rangi, which is about 30 feet long, that I share around the country. It spent a year living down in the South Island with our whānau down at Puketeraki. They just brought him back for Matatini, And then the whānau in Hastings asked if they could have him for a little time. So he's staying down there, helping them with running their programs for kids and things like that. And it's an easy canoe to move around. I can just put it on a trailer and move it. But I guess the flagship for all our mahi now is our waka haunui. Haunui named after my uncle, Hone Haunui, who was actually a great supporter of mine in these kinds of works. Every time a canoe needed to be launched, every time, he came up with me when my great friend Clay Bertelman died. He travelled with me to his funeral. Any big waka business that I had, Hone Haunui would travel with me. Then anyway, when we were building our waka and it came time pretty close to launching, he passed away on me. So I went to his funeral, I stood up and I spoke at the marae and I told him off. I said, this is terrible. You're supposed to hang around here and do all the ceremonial stuff that I needed for our waka. And one of the people from his family replied and said, well, he's done it enough times with you now, you might as well be the one who does it. And that's what we did. So I went through the whole procedure and the ceremony for the launching of this canoe. And we hadn't really secured a name for the waka at that time, and there's a part in the ceremony where you call, what is the name of this canoe? And who is this canoe for? And so when I called that first request out, what is the name of this canoe? One of the young sailors that I was about 16 at that time, he yelled out, Haunui! And then when my next question came up, who is this canoe for? And then someone else yelled out, it's for everybody. And I think that's the kind of message that we need to understand. With all the stuff we do, all the talk that it's for everybody. It's for everybody. How do we make this happen? It's to share and talk this and to do these things, open these kinds of things up to as many people as we can. So just to let you know, the middle picture is us actually bringing our waka home to Kawhia for its very first time. For our stories, Kawhia, which is on the west coast, is where our ancestors made their final settlement. And our ancestral canoe is buried on a hill against the side of our marae. So to honour our ancestors who sailed from Hawaii, we needed to get our canoe back there. We sailed in through the harbour entrance. It was really big swells. Came through and parked up right in front of where our waka was laid to rest. And it's the kind of thing that challenges people's concept of identity. A lot of us, I always say this to people, they'll stand up and they'll say, this is my mountain, this is my river, this is my waka, all that kind of stuff. But when you say, well, what does that mean? What does that actually mean to you? Are you just saying this stuff or do you mean this stuff? And they say, oh, well, it's just so that people know who I am, or, And I'd say to them, well, no, it's got to be more than that. Because whenever I say, and it can change, like I know before I got really busy with all the other kinds of waka stuff that I did, I always used to say, ko tainui taku waka. Then it changed a bit because I took charge of Tahere Tiki Tiki, then it changed ko Tahere Tiki Tiki taku waka. And then it was, when we started doing heaps of stuff with clay, it was ko Makalii taku waka. And then was Haunui. And the great thing is that I remember one time we sailed Haunui over to Thames. We did a whole bunch of stuff with kids there for a whole week. And without any prompting from us, the children, when they started to talk about who they were, started to say, ko hauraki te moana, o ko tikapa te moana, ko Haunui te waka. And so what it is they start to understand that identity is not just a word, it's not just talk, it's how you feel. And so those are the kind of things that I think a lot of people get used to saying stuff without actually really challenging what their thinking is about those kinds of things. So here they are. Mau Piailug, I call the most famous navigator for the Polynesian people, even though he's a Micronesian, that without his courage to move ahead and share what he knew with a whole bunch of us, we'd still be sitting at home thinking that people paddled canoes from one island to the next. We'd still be sitting at home thinking to ourselves, that looks pretty dangerous. I'm too scared to do something like that. He's the man who taught us to have courage. He's the man who says, don't pray for good weather, pray for courage. And him and my good friend Clay Bertelman. Clay Bertelman, who taught me to just go and do stuff. Don't sit around and wait for other people to do this job for you. Just go and do it. Even if you got no money, just do it. Even if you got no waka, just do it. Which is what we did. What we did, we trained young people, we trained lots of other people to the point that when we eventually got our own waka, we had a crew of great sailors. We had a crew of great navigators. And a crew of people who understood the kinds of things that challenged our ancestors and made them great. Now sometimes, when you face some of these huge oceans and you see how insignificant you are as a human being in the face of 8 or 9 meter breaking waves on your bow, those are the times you have to sit down and have these great conversations. You have these conversations with these guys. I'll sit on the front of my waka, and it's a time when people say, I will just leave them alone now. I'll sit on the front of the waka and I recall all the talk from these guys. And I recall all the talk from the stories of Kupe, of Maui, all those other people, because there is the wisdom and knowledge that will get me through this. And whenever I look at these guys like they do, that's the kind of story and that's the kind of picture that they remind me of. And that leads us to these kinds of pictures. We have all our little kids doing stuff. These are old pictures, actually. Working on all the different wakas, working on Te Aurere. These are my kids. This is hanging over there, Noi Noi. She's 20 now. But when she was 5 or 6, we were hauling her up the mast of Te Aurere to replace lines and stays and things like that. But I hide this picture now because health and safety regulations probably wouldn't allow us to do this kind of stuff anymore. But I thought I could share it with you guys. You're not going to sort of report me to any sort of government agency. And my number 2 son, Tūranga, that's him steering Te Aurere when he was 8 or 9 years old. And then that's him when he was 15, and we did a test run over waka, sailed it back from Samoa to Tonga to Fiji to Aotearoa when he was 15. And, these are the kinds of images when we see how engaged and how happy our young people are when they come and see this kind of stuff. It changes their view of things like engineering, naval architecture, maths, physics. It changes their view because they start to realise that these are things that aren't Western concepts, but they're things that our ancestors did. And I say to them, school starts from when your eyes open, and it finishes when your eyes shut. That's what school's all about. It's not, so don't get trapped into that, I only start learning at 9 o'clock in the morning and stop learning at 3. And that's the kind of world we try to deal with when we have all our rangatahi coming out with us. It might be 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a bit of school going on. But is for them to realise that their world is full of this kind of information, but we have to show them how to read it, how to see it, how to decode it. You know, what are the kinds of stories out there that need other people to decode the true messages within them? And so I just put these up just to see, so you guys can see that you can actually have a bit of fun. It is a pastime, but it's also a lot deeper than that. The recovery of ancient knowledge, the recovery of old stories. And in this picture over here with my two sons, the recovery of ancient or old pastimes and activities. Because for years on the river, people always talked about these old races that they used canoes and they'd hurdle them over little, you can see those that pole standing there on those stands. And so I think the last time it had been done was in the early 1990s. Me and one of my nephews did an exhibition just to show how this was done, and then nobody had done it ever since then. And then I showed my sons how to do it, and then last year they did a demonstration and did some races just to show that this stuff can still carry on. And the one next to it is just one of the few shots I have on Tahiti Tiki Tiki that has me and my two sons on board celebrating I think it was the 150th anniversary of the Kingitanga. And so, when we think about it, what do we call success? And so this is something for you to all think about. You know, success is succession. The ability for us to be able to say to somebody, okay, we've given you enough information, we've given you enough tools to do this job, you should go and do it. And so I guess one glaring example for us today is the fact that I'm over here talking to you, and my nephew, who's 23, is the captain of Haunui, and getting it ready to navigate it back up the coast to Auckland with a crew of people who are all sort of between 15 and 30 years of age. So the ability to be able to step away from those kinds of things and be very confident that those people you've spent time with and invested time with are going to do what you hope is the best job. And I only put this picture in to see that if we talk about succession, there's my grandson over there working on the canoe, sitting there with all his uncles and aunties and his grandfather with a little bit of sandpaper, just working and understanding that every little bit of effort, every bit of sweat that he puts into this canoe will carry his wairua, his spirit, and him across to all these places that our waka travels. So to finish off, it's only about a minute long, I'm just going to show you some images of, some moving images of some of the stuff we get up to. But mihine kia tātou, mihine kia koe, pua, koutou katoa, e whawhai ana i te rā whawhai, taino atu ki o tātou whanaunga o te motu nui. Hurino nei kia tātou. Koutou e ranga hau nei i ngā mahi hei pūmau i ngā whakaaro a o tātou mātua tūpuna. Mihi ana kia koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. There's no sound. Just a chance for you to just soak up what we get up to. No reira, mihi nei kia tātou. Just to show you the challenges that our ancestors undertook to get us here. The challenges that they took and the sacrifices they made. I say this to all our rangatau. Your job in this world is to ensure the sacrifices that they made and the challenges that they faced weren't for nothing. Rei, mihi ana kia tātou. Kia koutou i te rā nei, koutou e kawe nei tā tātou kaupapa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Kia ora tātou. I'll finish off with a little waiata. Hau nui, hau roa, hau matangi e. Ko piki, ko tuku, te mana wahine e. Ko whare tō roa, he mana tūpuna e. Arahina taku waka hau nui e.